What's going on, guys? Carmine here, and I just finished watching the new episode of Game of Thrones, and I've got to say, what the hell did I just see? Don't get me wrong, I thought the episode was fantastic and such an eye-opener, but I don't know how to feel about that last scene. I'll save it for the end, but I'm just a little shocked that they gave us the origins of the White Walkers and Hodor? Oh, Game of Thrones. How you spoil me. I guess I can forgive you for not allowing Bran to show us what was inside the tower in episode 3, I guess, but you better come back to that. I don't know about you guys, but it didn't really feel like the 5th episode we normally get, but it does make sense. It's like I said last time, episode 4 is usually the catalyst for when the epic stuff begins, and I think this episode delivered on what was supposed to be a wild ride for the second half of season 6. Let's jump right into it, shall we? So let's start with my man Petyr Baelish and Sansa. Right off the bat, we get a conversation between these two, and man is it intense. We learn that Petyr has rallied the army of the Vale, and they are currently stationed at Moat Cailin. Basically, the army that holds Moat Cailin also holds the flow of the other armies in and out of the north. It's the main reason Roose Bolton, in Season 4, had Ramsay take the position from the Ironborn, who still held it. Petyr is ready to come to Sansa's aid and help defeat the Boltons, but Sansa doesn't trust him because he pretty much arranged her to be tortured at the hands of Ramsay. She threatens him, but ultimately lets him go. Now, this scene kind of frustrated me a little. Yeah, I understand she's pissed off, but she has to understand that House Arryn and the Lords of the Vale are one of the few armies that have yet to take sides in the War of Five Kings. House Bolton has around 5,000 men, and that's not counting the additional soldiers from the Umbers and Karstarks, and House Arryn probably has 4 times the number of the Boltons. So let me play both sides here for a minute. Sansa's main issue with Petyr is that he arranged for her to get with Ramsay, but the guy ended up being a complete psycho. Now, I gotta defend Petyr here, mainly because he said it himself in Season 5. Ramsay was fairly new on the scene and was recently made legitimate. Petyr's spies probably didn't have enough information on him to conclude that he was insane. The only thing Petyr probably knew was that Roose Bolton's bastard son was just given legitimacy, and he figured Sansa could manipulate him. But at the same time, I understand where Sansa's coming from. The only reason she didn't have him killed was because he did in fact help her escape King's Landing, so she owes him that much, but you can also tell she's done with his shit. Sansa has grown into her own, as we later find out in the scene with her and Jon planning out what to do about the other northern houses. This is what the audience has been waiting for ever since the end of Season 4. We've been waiting for her to be some type of badass, but it still seems like she's getting there. While I enjoyed this scene and the performance from Sophie Turner throughout the entire episode, it did leave me wanting more, but mainly because I'm a huge fan of Petyr Baelish, and I'm curious to see what he'll do with the Knights of the Vale. Will he come in to turn the tide of battle against the Boltons? Or will he side with Ramsay just for the hell of it? Or maybe he'll keep Blackfish Tully from marching to the aid of House Stark, since the Knights of the Vale control Moat Cailin. Regardless, Petyr is still a major player, and he could very well decide the outcome of the Battle of Bastards. Next we move on to Arya, who is still training to become no one. Eventually she starts holding her own against the waif, who then starts kicking her ass. While Arya is learning how to use that stick very well, she still sucks at hand-to-hand combat. You could argue that she doesn't need to learn all this combat training because a good assassin would never need to use it, considering she's technically training to be a stealthy ninja, but to that I say, a good assassin always comes prepared no matter what. Jaqen gives her a nice history lesson on the Faceless Men, which I appreciated, and sends her off on her first mission, to kill Lady Crane, who is an actress. This scene is actually from the new unreleased book. George Martin released the sneak peek chapter last year, and it was called Mercy. You can look it up on YouTube if you're curious, but it does contain spoilers. I did like the play they put on. I thought it was pretty funny, but such a twisted version of actual events. But then again, history is usually written by the men who weren't there. We come backstage to find that the showrunners of Game of Thrones has finally given what all the ladies have been asking for: naked equality. That's right, we get our first ever close-up cock shot. I hope you ladies enjoyed it, because I could not stop laughing. Tune in next week when we actually get to see Maester Pycelle's asshole up close. Arya catches a glimpse of her target and talks to Jaqen about how she'll do it, and she asks him what she did wrong to deserve it, and I like what he says here. Death doesn't only come for the wicked, everyone dies. You can also tell he's getting a little annoyed here because you're training to be an assassin, not a detective. We don't ask questions, we take the payment and carry it out. Now, I really like the Arya stuff in this episode. She wasn't around last time, but I'm glad they gave us a little break from her and came back with this, of her going on her first assignment. Technically, she had one last season to kill the Thin Man, but that never went through because Meryn Trant appeared in Braavos and she needed to go through with that one. She paid the price, and I'm sure she's learned her lesson, but at the same time, how long will this last? The waif was getting on her case about still being Arya Stark and how she'll never become one of them, and I've got to agree. At this point, Arya can never go back to Sansa and Jon Snow. Ever. If she leaves the Order, then I guess you could say they would send assassins after her because she's gone rogue. She has to stay a killer for as long as she's alive, but I do wonder how and when Needle will come into play here. That sword is a part of her and holds great value. I wonder if at some point the waif will find Needle and use it against her, and maybe that is when Arya kills her and realizes she can never be no one. Now let's move on to the Real Housewives of the Dothraki with Dany. This scene, while brief, was amazing. I really liked her acting this time around, which is rare for me to say, and I love the discussion she had with Jorah. She finally sees how much he loves her, and he finally reveals the grayscale to her. She tells him that she wants him by her side when she takes the Seven Kingdoms, but first orders Jorah to come back to her with a cure. While some of you may think it's really cheesy, I liked it a lot. It was a touching moment between these two. He betrayed her, but he's more than made up for it, and that's what matters right now. Even though she ordered him to go find a cure, I doubt that'll ever happen. What I'm thinking is that Jorah will die, but not before he takes her to the Seven Kingdoms, and he may not even see her sit on the Iron Throne, which is sad, but I can definitely see it going down that way. Jorah was always a big part of her growing up and learning to become a strong person, but I just can't see him in the very last episode next to her. Like I said, this scene was brief, but I really did like it. It was very sentimental, and hopefully we see him one last time before the season ends. And if Daario does turn out to be the Harpy, he might kill him with that dagger he's so attached to. And now we get to what I've been waiting for all season with Varys, the arrival of the new Red Priestess, and oh my god, is she fucking awesome. Tyrion realizes that they need help keeping the people of Meereen on Dany's side, and what better way than to include religion in on this? Oh, fun. That never goes wrong in the history of time, ever. The new Red Priestess, whose name is Kinvara, says that Dany is the one who was promised, while Melisandre across the Narrow Sea swears it's Jon Snow. I don't know, Mel, you've been wrong before. Tyrion tries to reason with her, but Kinvara proves to be just as committed as Melisandre was until Varys chimes in. He says that a Red Priestess came to Westeros to guide Stannis, who was defeated twice, so how could they really believe anything she says? To which she responds by psyching the hell out of him. I have no idea how the hell she knows all that information about him, but you can tell she gets to him and it was amazing. This is one of the first times we've ever seen Varys sweat like that before. All I'm gonna say is that I love this scene between the three of them. It was epic. The actress who plays Kinvara did an excellent job as Melisandre 2.0, but I am wondering how Dany will take to this, and I really want to see if Dany will even accept this new girl into her party. But overall, I was satisfied with the Meereen scenes this time around. It really did deliver. As for those of you wondering who'd I choose, Melisandre or Kinvara? That's a tough one, but if these women of this religion keep on getting sexier, oh my god, all I'm gonna say is, Lord bless me with your light. And now we come to the Kingsmouth on the Iron Island. The Ironborn need a new ruler, and the only person to come forward is Yara. At first, they don't want a gross girl to be their ruler until Theon vouches for her. Personally, if I'm an Ironborn, I would want Yara to be the leader because she, unlike her father, actually know the strengths and weaknesses of the Ironborn. They're pirates, Vikings, they're men of the sea. They don't hold castles and strongholds or fight in the fields. Their talents come through during ship combat. It seems like things are going her way until Euron Greyjoy comes in and declares he should be the king of the Ironborn. Okay, here's where things start to go downhill very fucking quickly. So he wants to be Dany's husband, and all he has to offer her are ships. That's it? I mean, ships are great and all, but you do realize that she's the queen of Meereen, right? She can just buy them or build them, or if she's in a hurry, she can just take them from other people. Why does she need your ships? Not only that, but where is the Dragonhorn? I won't go into too much detail in this video, but in the books, let's just say Euron has a plan to bind the dragons to him, as in control them right under Dany's nose. What the hell happened to that Greyjoy plot device? Once again, I thought this episode was fantastic, don't get me wrong. The Kingsmoot was okay, but I was still expecting more. Like, other than Yara, there were other Ironborn who wanted the throne. Why weren't they shown? Eventually, everybody loves Euron and declares him king. His coronation involves drowning until he is brought back as the new King Reaver of Pike, and is ready to lead them. His first act is to kill his brother's children. We find out that Theon and Yara have fled the island with most of the ships. Euron declares that they will build 1,000 new ones and attract Dany to his side. I'm sorry, but even in a medieval fantasy world, building one ship takes a long fucking time, so I have no idea how he'll be doing this in the time for next season, unless they plan on doing a time skip. Also, What makes no sense to me is, why didn't they do this last season? Theon really wasn't necessary for this. I mean, if they had this scene in episode 5 of season 5, I could understand Euron coming back in season 6 with 1,000 ships, or even half that, but how will he be a major threat if he's grounded? I don't know about you guys, but I can kind of tell they rushed through this in the writing room. I mean, it's not as bad as House Martell last season, but Euron doesn't have much appeal here. Much of the character's personality was removed, and he just seems like another douchebag instead of a major player. In the show, he just seems like a slightly less crazy version of Ramsay, and that's not who he is. They really could have included a lot to the character, but I just don't understand why they don't. The episode itself was around 52 minutes, which is really short for Game of Thrones. They couldn't spare an extra 4 minutes to say, hey, I have this device that lets me control dragons. That would have made much more of an impact than, I'll give her ships. And before some moron in the comment section starts saying, Carmine, you're so pessimistic, you have nothing nice to say about the show, you clearly haven't seen the first 9 minutes of this video. Also, it's not pessimism. I'm sorry I have more of imagination than the people running the show. Just because I'm sitting here making a YouTube video for you guys doesn't mean I don't know good storytelling. Once again, the King's Moot was okay, but it could have been a lot better in my opinion. The Greyjoys aren't the clusterfuck that is House Martell. Not yet anyway, and hopefully, we'll see a lot more of Euron in future episodes than just him being slightly douchey. Next we come to Castle Black with Sansa, Jon, and Davos talking strategy. This scene, once again, was brief, but I really did like it. Everybody's finally getting down to it. How will they defeat the Boltons, and who will side with them? Davos has ruled out the Karstarks, mainly because of, Robb's fuckery in killing their lord. The Umbers have given Rickon to Ramsay, and, sorry to break it to you guys, there is no grand conspiracy. The Umbers are just cunts. Jon mentions that there are more than 24 houses willing to fight for them, and I can tell you right now who will join them right off the bat. House Mormont and House Cerwyn. Last season we saw Ramsay head over to Lord Cerwyn's castle to demand taxes, and he refused. So Ramsay flayed both Lord and Lady Cerwyn alive in front of their son, and the new Lord Cerwyn paid his taxes. This was in Season 5, Episode 3, so you can count on them to join in. As for House Mormont, well, it's like they said last season. Bear Island knows no king but the king in the north, whose name is Stark. So you can count on them too. I love that part, it made me smile when Jon read it out loud. In the Season 6 trailer, we see Davos on what looks like Bear Island, possibly conversing with Lyanna Mormont, Jorah Mormont's cousin. The other houses? They may also join the Starks, but the one thing I hope happens is when Jon, Sansa, and Davos travel to each house, I hope the lords and ladies of those places give some kind of fucked up story about their dealings with the Boltons before pledging their loyalty. It would give us an insight into what the Boltons have done to their neighbors since taking over, and not only that, but it also helps solidify the reason why killing Roose Bolton was such a bad idea, and that is because Ramsay is a loose cannon. Roose told Ramsay not to fuck around with Sansa, and, of course, he did, and she escaped. Roose told Ramsay not to meet Stannis in the field because it'd be much easier to hold Winterfell against them, and it would also conserve men, and he rode out there to meet them anyway. Ramsay likes doing things his own way, and part of that includes fucking up relationships with allies. In a leaked photo, I saw that the Hornwoods would be in the Battle of the Bastards, and I do hope they tried to throw in Ramsay's atrocities to the Lady of Hornwood, who he kidnapped, raped, and locked her in a tower where he would forget to feed her, and she was later found dead with most of her fingers gone. Yeah, Ramsay's a dick. I also really enjoyed how Sansa, despite hating Baelish, is taking after him a little by lying to Jon about how she knows about the Blackfish's forces at Riverrun. I wonder if she'll start showing more Baelish-like behavior in the future. Now, the last scene between Jon and Ed was touching. Ed is now Lord Commander, and I doubt we'll see him again until the very end when the White Walkers decide to bring down the wall. And that was kind of foreshadowing, by the way, what Jon said to him. I just hope he survives that, because I really do like the character, and it's a shame, but I kind of hope that Ed would come with him, but I also understand why he doesn't. I like the Castle Black scenes. I thought they were really good, and it really sets up to what's to come with the other northern houses. And it does feel a little strange leaving Castle Black behind, but I'm also excited to see what's next. And finally, we get to the Cave of the Three-Eyed Raven. Bran and the audience finally learns the true origins of the White Walkers, and it's pretty generic as far as fantasy and sci-fi go. The Children of the Forest were at war with the First Men who came to the continent thousands of years ago. They were outnumbered, and to counter the increasing threat of the men, they captured some of them and used what looks like obsidian and transformed them into monsters who were capable of turning the tide. Eventually the Children and the First Men did settle for peace, but I guess the White Walkers just proved too powerful to contain, and they rebelled? That's what it's starting to look like. It reminds me a lot of those sci-fi movies where the humans build machines and eventually the machines rebel against their own creators. It's happened in The Matrix, Terminator, and even my favorite video game, Mass Effect. They did something with it. Don't get me wrong, I thought it was awesome that they revealed it, but I thought there was more to it other than they were created just as tools of war against humanity. But the question remains, why now after thousands of years are they coming back? Also, in case you guys didn't notice, in Bran's vision when the children are making the walkers, the stones placed around the tree for the ritual, yeah, it looks incredibly familiar with the way the walkers position the dead wildlings in Season 1 and Season 2. Eventually, Bran fucks up and goes into a vision without the guidance of the Raven, and he ends up seeing the Night's King, who was able to mark him. A lot of the people were asking, how is that possible? Why is it possible? Well, because that power has a strong connection to the Children of the Forest, so it wouldn't surprise me that the Walkers, a product of the Children, are able to intercept him in the Green Dreams. Bran is now marked, and that means the Walkers can invade the cave, so the Raven has to be quick and starts uploading as much information to Bran as he can, and it kinda keeps him stuck in that state. The Walkers quickly find them and start their attack. The Children only have a couple of rocks for some reason instead of bags of them, but, you know, plot stupidity. Mira tries to wake up Bran, but she can't while he's receiving all that info. I like how Mira is able to kill one of the Walkers, but I guess you could argue that the spear she used had an obsidian dagger tip to it. Bran is able to warg into Hodor, or is he? And Hodor helps get Bran out while Summer charges into the Whites for some reason. Yeah, what the fuck was that? There was no point in Summer charging in there to give them 5 seconds of time to run, but I guess the CGI for wolves cost too much money, huh, showrunners? No, I understand. Dead dire wolves are cheaper. The last of the Children of the Forest sacrifices herself to buy a couple of minutes for them to escape, and then we get to it. The scene that was incredibly heartbreaking. They get out through the back door, and Hodor is left behind to hold the door. It turns out that Bran going back in time isn't just for visions, he can actually alter the past with a flux capacitor that he has in his pocket. 5 points if you know where that's from. And Game of Thrones does it. They include a time-traveling plot. You gotta be fucking kidding me. This is really hard to explain, and I'm sure another YouTuber will do a better job at it than I, but it's just one of those things you just know, but it's hard to explain. It reminds me of this one television show, I think it was The Twilight Zone. It was an episode where this woman is sent back in time to kill baby Hitler, and when Hitler's mom gives birth to him, she takes the baby and jumps in the river. But the maid who witnesses this is horrified and realizes that Hitler's father may kill her for letting that happen, so she just goes to a random homeless person and buys their baby from them and passes that off as Hitler. It's one of those things, you know what I mean? Where people go back in time, but they alter it, and it turns out their alteration is how things were supposed to be done, like a circle. It's confusing, and I didn't expect Thrones to actually do something like this, but I guess it needed to be done, and I hope it's explained later on in further detail. But I will say that it was so heartbreaking and so sad, I could not stop myself from feeling like just so bad for Hodor. He's the one character in the entire show with no hidden motive, no agenda, and he's the one that goes down. It's just such a punch in the stomach, too. We also lose the Raven when the Night's King comes in, but I don't think he's gone yet. I think he's uploaded a piece of his mind into Bran, and we'll probably see him again in the finale. I will say that the Night's King confrontation with the Raven kind of reminded me of the confrontation Max von Sydow had with Kylo Ren in Episode 7. The White Walkers rose from the dark side. You did not. I'll show you the dark side. Sorry, I just had to. Overall, this episode was fantastic, simply amazing. With the exception of that subpar Kingsmouth, I enjoyed every single bit of what we got. This really felt like something you'd get in the dreaded Episode 9, but I'm glad they gave it to us this early on, because that means the next 4 episodes will be just as intense as this one, or at least close to it. In the previews, we see that Bran does escape, but someone comes in to their aid. Maybe Gendry? No idea. Also, I just want to give this person credit since nobody seems to be talking about it. The hold the door / Hodor thing was actually guessed by someone as far back as 8 years ago. Someone named Myerden, I think that is his name, correctly guessed that Hodor meant hold the door back in February 20th, 2018 on the Westeros forums. Good fucking catch, dude. Before I end this video, I'll leave you guys with this question. The White Walkers weren't able to enter into the Cave of the Raven due to the magic put on it to keep them out, but they were able to get in there because Bran now bears their mark. Do you think that Mira will, in a panic, take Bran back through the wall and in turn allow the White Walkers to come through just like they did in the cave? Keep in mind that the wall was originally built to keep them out, and it has some magic infused into it. The same magic used by the Children of the Forest. Do you think Bran will finalize the White Walker invasion by returning home? Let me know down below your thoughts on this episode, and as always, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then hit that like button to show your support. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and if you hate me, then you can go fuck yourself. I'll see you guys next time. Baba Booey.